Hi, and welcome to episode 72 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, July 19th, 2019, and this is a podcast all about my crafty life. Today I have knitting, crocheting, and hand-dyed yarn to share with you all. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. And you can also get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. In the description box below, I will have links to the places that you can find me, as well as the show notes for this episode. So I'll start off today with some finished objects that I'd love to share with you all. As you can see on my dress form in the background, I was able to finish the SALCOMBE shawl, which is a beautiful design by Hannah of YARNJA Designs, and I knitted this for my husband's grandmother, Grandma Gloria. I started it as a prayer shawl for her. I cast it on the same day that her last remaining sibling passed away, and that was her sister, who she was very, very good friends with. And so that was a really hard loss for her, and I just wanted to make her a prayer shawl. So as I knitted, I continually prayed for her that she would just be filled with peace and that she would be comforted during this hard time. I have decided to save it until her 90th birthday party, which will be on Labor Day weekend. So I am excited to gift it to her at that time, but I think that will be a really nice birthday present for her. So I'll take it off of here so you can see it a little bit better. It's just a wonderful size. It turned out beautifully. It's not too big, not too small. I think it will be really wearable for her. I used my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn. The first color I used here is called Sparrow, and that is on my Pitter Patter base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and that is fingering weight. And then also the contrast color is fingering weight too, and that is my strength colorway, but it is on my Twinkle Toes base. So it is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% gold stellina. And I really, really love how those two colors worked up together. These are Grandma Gloria's type of colors. She loves wearing natural earth-toned colors, and I think she'll especially love the glittery dark brown yarn because she loves to wear sparkly jewelry and even sparkly clothes a lot. She is always dolled up so beautifully. So I'm really hopeful that she will enjoy this. This was knit from the top down, and I used the recommended needle size, which I forget what that was, but I'll put it down below. And yeah, it just worked up so beautifully. I'm really, really happy with it. It was a joy to make. The garter stitch, which is the majority of the shawl, is made using garter stitch. So that was really mindless, of course, but then there's the beautiful lace sections as well. And of course the bottom lace section is just especially beautiful. It is finished off with an I-cord edge, which I just think that works beautifully as the edging. It just turned out so nicely, I think. I'm not sure how, honestly, Grandma Gloria, I've never seen her wear a shawl. She wears lots of jewelry though, so I'm hoping that she will, I'm thinking that she will wear it this way. I'll show her how to wear it this way, because I think that's how she would be most comfortable in it. She's such a stylish lady that I think she'd look really beautiful in it, worn in this style. So it just sits so nicely like that, I think. And you can of course tie these ends together and put them off to the side a little bit or something like that. That looks really cute. And then also, of course, you could just wear over the shoulders. It's a really nice size that it would be comfortable worn over the shoulders. I don't see Grandma Gloria, I can't imagine Grandma Gloria wearing it like this very much, but maybe. I would, but she's probably more has more of a young style than I do, because I would wear it like this, but I can't imagine that she would. But anyway, it's a really comfy size to wear over the shoulders as well, I think. So yeah, I'm so pleased that I was able to finish this, and I've got it, you know, her birthday presents all set, and yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. So, yay. I love gift knitting so much, and it makes me so happy to gift knitted things to friends and family. So I'm really, really excited to give this to her. I'll put it back on the dress form. There. I have a few other finished objects as well. I showed these to you last time I recorded. I made these adorable little newborn baby socks. This is the Perfect Newborn Socks pattern, which is a free pattern on the Hey Sister Yarn Co. website. This is by Tabitha Candy, who is one of the two sisters of the Hey Sister podcast, which I absolutely love. And I really, really enjoyed making these socks. So I made them exactly to pattern. So I used US 1 2.25 millimeter needles, fingering weight yarn. This is my hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts, again on my pitter patter base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is in my silent colorway. So they're knit from the top down, and there's just some 2x2 ribbing for for the entirety of the sock. There is a little tiny heel flap and gusset, which is so cute. Honestly, just looking at these, I think that they look too small, but I am trying to trust that they will fit a newborn. I haven't had the opportunity to try them on a newborn baby yet, but I am hopeful that they will fit. So they're really cute. I like them, especially cuffed though. I think they're so cute with the little top cuffed over. I think that's so sweet. They're so cute. I just love them so much. And according to the pattern, according to Tabby on the pattern, they fit babies perfectly. So hopefully these will. I just made these to have on hand as a gift to give to a new mom whenever the opportunity arises. I am part of our church's prayer shawl ministry, which includes baby blanket ministry for newborn babies, and I thought it would just be a nice addition to a baby blanket to maybe include a pair of newborn socks as well. So they are just so sweet. Oh, they only take about 11 grams total, so that is awesome that you can just use scraps, of course. They just take so little yarn to make, so that is so much fun. And I went ahead and made a second pair, and here they are. Oh, they're so cute. I am not sure about this yarn, unfortunately. It was so nice to work with. I really do wish I could remember what it was. This came in one of the Christmas Advent mini skein swaps that I did last year, and I just really, really loved working these up. I think they're so cute how they're mismatched, but I was able to get the top yellow stripe and even the yellow stripe on the foot to match up. So, I think they're enough alike that they make a cute little pair. And oh my goodness, they're so sweet. Oh, I did notice that when I made the first pair, I usually, when I'm doing ribbing, I usually do Norwegian purling, but it makes sense, and I've heard that Norwegian purling is usually much looser in gauge because of the way that you wrap the yarn around the needle. And so I thought with these tiny little socks, I thought maybe it would be better if I just purled the normal way by bringing the yarn to the front. And so that's what I did on these, but really my stitches don't look very even here. I don't know if you can notice, but it's just a little bit wonky, I think. And so you can most especially tell on these first stitches here where I used magic loop method for these, and so I think that's probably at the beginning of my round, maybe. I'm not really sure, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. On this one, I decided to go back to my Norwegian purling method, and I think that my stitches look quite a bit more even. So that was good to know, I guess, that I'm more comfortable doing it that way anyway. And so it was nice to know that my ribbing turns out a bit neater using that method than it does on I just assumed that my regular purling method would be a bit tighter, and maybe it was just because it was the second time making them, so I was a bit more comfortable making the pattern. I don't know, but I think these look a little bit neater, the stitches. Anyway, so fun. I'm so excited about these. I want to make so many pairs. I have a few other sets of, or scraps of yarn that I've set aside to make some more of these to have on hand, but I kind of want to wait to make sure that they do fit newborn babies before I make more. I mean, just to make sure. They're so cute though. I mean, they would even make adorable Christmas ornaments. You know, they are so tiny. Oh, I showed on Instagram one of my socks compared to the baby sock, just to give it a comparison. And here's one of the most recent socks that I finished for myself. And of course I like to make my socks have a really long leg, so they're rather large, and I do have large feet too. I have a 9.5 shoe size, US of course. And so here's the tiny baby sock in comparison. Is just so tiny. They're so fun to make though. Also, I thought if you've never made socks before, this would kind of be a good first try at making a sock, just because, you know, you can go through the steps of making all the parts of the sock pretty quickly because it's so tiny. I mean, maybe it is a little bit more fiddly because it is so small, but I don't know, if you just wanted to have a quick sample of how to knit a sock, I think this would be a great first project for that. So anyway, I really enjoyed making these, and I'm planning to make a lot more. So, okay, those are all of my finished objects for this week, and I have a few works in progress that I'd like to share with you all. The first one is in this beautiful handmade bag, which was made for me by Mary Ann of Rock Islander. She is on Instagram, but she hasn't been quite as active as she used to be on Instagram, but I have heard from her about a month ago maybe, and she's still doing well. She's just not on Instagram quite as often as she used to be, but she's a very, very talented knitter and sewist, and she did a swap with me a while back and made this gorgeous bag for me, which I absolutely love. And last time I recorded a podcast, I showed you that I was working up a swatch, and I had only worked one section of this swatch last time I recorded. So I worked up a couple more sections using different size needles. I just put a garter ridge in between each section so I could tell where I started off with a new needle size. I started swatching for the Honey Bop cardigan by Amy Apple. And the recommended needle size for that project was a US 3.25 millimeter needle. So that's what I did right here. I was trying to get a gauge of 27 stitches to 4 inches, but that gave me a gauge of 26 stitches to 4 inches. I think last time I recorded, I said it gave me 25 stitches to 4 inches, but I'll explain that later. Anyway, in the end, it gave me 26 stitches to 4 inches. So then I went down to a US 2.75 millimeter needle, and that gave me a gauge of 28 stitches to 4 inches. I also just did another swatch using a US 1.5 millimeter needle. I'm sorry, a 2.5 millimeter needle, and that gave me a gauge of 29 stitches to 4 inches. So what I did was after I did the first section, I wet blocked it and let it dry and measured it. And I got 25 stitches to 4 inches. And so I needed to get a tighter gauge. So I went down, did that, blocked it, counted it. It was actually the first time I counted it, it gave me 26 stitches to 4 inches. And so then I was trying to get 27, and so that's why I went down to a 1.5. But one of the ladies that I go to church with that also watches this podcast, hi Michelle, she sent me an email and said I'm using non-superwash yarn. And she said with non-superwash yarn, sometimes it will after you wet block it, it will stretch, but then it will shrink back down again after it's really thoroughly dry. And so I went back and rechecked the gauge after it had dried for like a couple of days, and my gauge had changed. It had shrunk back a little bit. So thank you so much, Michelle, for that tip. Like I said, I am using non-superwash wool. This is my own hand-dyed yarn as well, Noble Character Crafts yarn on my gentle base, which is a fingering weight 100% superwash, no, 100% non-superwash fine merino wool. And this is in the colorway Good Sense, which is not the color I'm using for the cardigan that I am making, but it was just one that I had on hand and I hadn't dyed up the colorway I wanted to use yet, so that's why I used it for my swatch. But then I went and changed my mind. Well, not only because in the end I was trying to get 27 stitches to 4 inches and I wasn't getting that, I had 26 or 28. And then I was looking on Etsy at some vintage knitting patterns, and I found a whole booklet of knitting patterns for only $6 from a shop called Tangled Sundries. And so I purchased this packet of vintage sweaters, knitting patterns, and there's some dresses in there as well, but this one particular sweater really caught my eye, and the gauge that it was calling for was 28 stitches to 4 inches. And so I just decided to go ahead and make this cardigan instead. And I think it's so pretty, and I really love the silhouette of it. It's very similar to the Honey Bop as far as the shaping and the little puff sleeves, but it's got this beautiful lacy texture all over the body of it, which I love. I'm not a fan of this little loopy collar deal, so I won't be doing that. I'm planning on just doing a regular ribbed neckline. But I really, really love the look of this, and I have never made a vintage knitting pattern before, and so I was really excited to give it a try. I'm a bit nervous about it, but I am really excited about it as well. So this is by Hand Knits by Beehive, and this is called Fanfare. And it is knit from the bottom up in pieces and then seamed together, which I have done that before, and that cardigan that I made does fit very well, so I'm hopeful that this will work out as well. I have the first sweater that I ever knitted for myself was also made in that way, and it did not turn out how I ended up giving it away, actually, because it did not fit me very nicely. But of course, that was the first sweater I ever made, and so now I have more experience and I'm a bit more confident in my abilities to make a sweater that fits me. So anyway, here is my progress so far. I started with the back piece, and again, this is my gentle base, and this is on my Humble colorway, which is a nice light peach semi-solid. And the pattern is really, really fun to knit up. It has a 8-row repeat, I believe. Not that that really matters, but yeah, 8-row repeat. And so, you know, it's kind of like with self-striping yarn or something like that, where you just really, I really enjoy getting through a repeat, and then it's just really addictive that, you know, you just want to keep working on another repeat. So anyway, it is made using a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle for the ribbing, and that was just 1x1 ribbing for about 3 inches, I believe. And then now I am up to a US 2 2.75 millimeter needle, which again gave me the gauge of 28 stitches to 4 inches. And yeah, I'm really enjoying working on this. I'm so excited about it. And it gave me the idea that maybe some other people would like to join me in trying out a vintage knitting pattern. So I haven't done a knit along in so long, and I thought it would be fun to start a new knit along or crochet along. I'm going to call it the VINTAGEMAL or Vintage Make Along. And I'm going to start it now and then run it until the end of September, so through September 30th. And I'm going to do it just on Instagram. So if you would like to join in on making any vintage patterns, so that would be I looked up online and I thought that this was the case, and online, you know, I found a website that confirmed that vintage is considered anything that's 20 years or older. So I'm going to say any patterns that were written in 1999 or earlier will be qualified to be a part of this knit along. And so I would just absolutely love it if any of you would like to join me in knitting or crocheting a vintage pattern. So it can be, you know, anything that you can possibly find that is from a pattern written 1999 or earlier. And yeah, so I'm super excited about this and hope that maybe other people would like to join in. Oh, I have looked at vintage patterns before, but I've always been a little bit I'm still a little bit nervous about making a vintage pattern, but I've really steered away from them a lot because the sizing is pretty limited on vintage patterns a lot of times. But the wonderful thing about this particular booklet of patterns is that it's offered in 3 sizes, and they go from 33 inches bust circumference to 37 inches. And that's still a very limited size range, of course. But the nice thing is that at least you can see the comparison of how much they increase per size. So actually, my bust circumference is 38 inches. And so I actually am just making the next size up that's not included in this pattern. But for example, the cast on stitches increase by 8 stitches for every size that's included on this pattern. And so I just took the highest one that's on this pattern and added another 8 stitches. And I've just gone through the whole pattern and followed their, you know, the pattern of how they have increased stitches for the other sizes and continued to follow that, you know, how they did that. So if they added 8 stitches, I'm adding 8 stitches to the highest size. On another section, they've added 6 stitches. So I'm adding 6 stitches. So I've just gone through the whole thing and looked at the comparison of the other sizes and then made the adjustments accordingly. So hopefully it will turn out to fit me. And I held it up to the last cardigan that I just made, and the back seems to be really comparable as far as how this is knitting up. So yeah, I'm hopeful that that will work out. My next work in progress is a crochet project that I started, and I am making a Christmas tree skirt. So it's Christmas in July here. I saw this pattern online a while ago, and I've been really excited about making it. It is the Flirty Tree Skirt by Yarnspirations. It is a free pattern on their website. Here is a picture of it from their pattern. And if you've tuned in before, you know that I really like scalloped edges, so that scalloped edging along this tree skirt really caught my eye. And let's see, it is made using worsted weight yarn, and I am using 100% acrylic yarn for this project. The first color here is Red Heart Super Saver yarn in the cherry red colorway. And then I've just started working on this green color, which is Mainstays Basic yarn in the green colorway. And I'm using the recommended hook, which is a US H 5mm. And I typically use these kinds of boy hooks, and I put a little pencil gripper thing on the end to pad the palm of my hand as I work with them, because it just is more comfortable that way for me. And let's see, it's really fun to work up. I did make a modification to it, however. As you can see on the picture here, it's not a complete circle. There are only 8 sides on this, and I wanted to close up the circle so that there wouldn't be that huge gap in the back of the tree, because, I don't know, I just thought that that would be noticeable before you have the presents down, and I thought it would be neater. It would look neater if it was closed fully. So what I did was, looking at the pattern, on that first row, I noticed that the pattern was like a repeat of 7 stitches, I believe. And so I just added 2 extra repeats of that pattern because it's supposed to be a decagon instead of only having 8 sides. It's supposed to have 10 sides. But for some reason I have 11 sides. I'm not really sure how I came up with that. So I have quite a bit of an overlap in order to make the decagon shape. But that's okay, because I think it'll be nice to have it, you know, there's plenty of extra material here to overlap to make the full circle. Okay, so the first section here, you are just knitting around, and then I've put markers on these little sections where you do increase stitches to get the shape going. And then I've included these scalloped edges along the first color here. They are not laying very flat. As you can see, they're flipping over. So I'm not really sure. I found that if I kind of play with them, I can get them to lay down. So hopefully once I have it all done, I can get it to lay flat, but I don't know. I've even thought maybe I need to put a little stitch in there to kind of keep them down if they keep flipping up, which wouldn't be too terrible, but it would be a little time consuming to go through and stitch down each of those scalloped edges. But it is such a cute pattern that I'm okay with it. I'll make it work. Anyway, so here it is. Yeah, it's kind of fun, and I've picked some really bright colors here, but hopefully it won't look too tacky under our Christmas tree. I don't know, we'll see. I'm questioning my color choices, but hopefully when I'm done it will look good. We'll see. It's also been so warm here that working on this it's pretty heavy, and it's been a little hard to find time to work on it. I mean, in a situation where it's not too warm, but inside in the air conditioning it's been okay. So obviously I've made quite a bit of progress on it. It's pretty big already, but it's made using a half double crochet stitch throughout the whole thing, except for the scalloped, of course. But the scalloped edging is made with different stitches, but the majority of this is all using half double crochet stitches. So anyway, that's working up pretty well. It fits my daughter actually tried it on, and it fits her as an actual skirt. It fits her little waist perfectly. So I have a feeling that she might you know, play with it sometimes too as an actual skirt. We'll see. We actually have at our church, one of the ladies at our church hosts a Christmas party for the women in our church where everybody is supposed to wear a Christmas tree skirt. So maybe I'll wear this to that party this year if it turns out okay. It doesn't fit my waist, but I'll make it work. My last work in progress is in this cute little sock project bag that I got also from that Christmas Advent swap that I did. And in here is a new sock work in progress that I'm super excited about. Isn't this gorgeous? I was searching on a website called KULABRA Designs, and she has a ton of amazing color work socks and mittens, as well as beautiful shawls and a few sweater patterns that are just so gorgeous. And I just fell in love with her designs, and I was browsing through her website. I saw that these socks were called Secret Garden socks, and I recently just finished reading The Secret Garden to my daughter, and now we are listening to the audiobook of it as a family. And we also recently watched the movie. I believe that movie was made in the late 90s, and it was just a really nice version of that story. And anyway, so we've just been, you know, just enthralled with the story of The Secret Garden lately. And so when I saw the title of these socks, I was like, oh, I have to make those. And I decided that I wanted to use a self-striping yarn as the background color. And so I was going through my Knit Picks Felice yarn, and I found this colorway, which is called Spring Blooms. So I thought that went really well with the Secret Garden theme. And I thought that those colors would look really awesome against the black. And the black is my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn, on my Pitter Patter base again in the Night colorway. So I am just really, really loving working on these. Not only is the color work addictive, but then this self-striping yarn is exciting to get to a new color. It's been so much fun working on these. Really, I just cast them on the 15th, so 4 days ago, and I've already gotten this far, so I'm super excited about them. This is the first time I've ever made a pair of colorwork socks. I started off the cuff with a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle and worked the ribbing for 20 rows. And then I went up to a US 3.25 millimeter needle for the body, because I always go up a couple of needle sizes when I do color work because my gauge tightens up so much more. The fit of these is pretty good. It is a little bit difficult to pull it on, but I don't think that I would want it to be any looser because, you know, color work just doesn't have as much stretch as a normal stockinette knitting with one strand of yarn would. And so anyway, I don't want it to be too loose, and I can get it on, it just doesn't go on as easily as a normal sock would, but I'm happy with the fit. So the pattern does not include a heel, just so you know, just FYI. I decided to do a Eye of Partridge heel, which you probably won't be able to see very well, the texture of it on this black yarn. No, you can't see that at all, I don't think. But anyway, it's one of my favorite heels. And you're actually working with an odd number of stitches on the heel, which is unusual. And anyway, so the Eye of Partridge heel just worked out a little bit better since you're alternating every other right side row, you're alternating which stitch you slip. And I just thought that that would work better with the odd number of stitches on the needle. And it did, it worked out just fine. So anyway, I'm really enjoying working on these. So beautiful. I just love that patterning. Then the bottom of the heel, or I mean the bottom of the foot has this more simple pattern to it. But yeah, I'm just really excited about these. They're so much fun. So those are all of the projects that I have to share with you all. Except I do have, and I forgot to mention that I have been working on not only knitting and crocheting, but some jewelry making lately. So you probably have heard me, maybe you've heard me talk about before that whenever I send out a hank of my yarn from somebody that purchases, I always include a stitch marker along with the yarn. That's just always included with my yarn. I include a stitch marker. So I am always making little stitch markers, which are little pieces of jewelry really. And I decided to make a necklace that is full of stitch markers. And here is the first one I have to share with you all. I'm so excited about these. So on here, I have 10 Progress Keeper slash stitch markers. So some of them have these French earring hook clasps on them. And then some of them have the lobster clasps right here. And then also included, so there's 10 of those stitch marker slash Progress Keepers. And then also I have a larger clasp that has 10 stitch markers on there, just individual stitch markers that you can remove. Here is one of them. And then you can just wear your necklace and have these little stitch markers handy to pop onto your project as you're knitting along. And of course it also just is really beautiful to wear as jewelry. So This one, as you can see, is made using antique bronze pieces. And this one has a bit of a nautical theme. So it has a little sailboat. Here's a little seashell charm with a little pearl on it. There's a seahorse. Here's a little shell one. Let's see. Here's another shell. And I love this charm. It's just like this piece of turquoise. It has a bit of turquoise tint to it, but mainly it's just a dark metal teardrop shape. Then I have this glass bead that's kind of in an amber color. Here is a clear bead and this little boat wheel, and it says love on it. And then a mermaid. And all of the, I have a few other ones to share with you, but they all have a faux suede cord, and it has this adjustable knot on it, so you can adjust the length of it by moving the cord to be where you like it, so you could wear it shorter or longer. And yeah, I'm just really excited about these. So I'll share with you the other ones I have. And these are in my shop now, and they are $35 each if you're interested in purchasing any of them. Here is the next one. It's on a, oh, this is a kind of a dark brown colored cord, and this is a lighter brown. This has also got the bronze antique pieces on it. This has kind of a love theme to it, I guess. I had a few charms that kind of had a love theme. So this has a Cupid. Here's just a few pretty beads on one. This one is a heart. Here you can see the stitch markers again on the larger clasp. Here's just another pretty beaded one. And a bird. And then here we have a pretty bead again. And here is a heart with a keyhole, and then there's the key. It actually fits in the keyhole, which is kind of fun. And let's see, over here we have just a little leaf and a rose with an extra little bead on there as well. So here's the second necklace that I have. Then I have a few that are made using silver pieces instead of the antique bronze. This is on a gray cord, and this one has kind of a bluish green theme, or turquoise green. And on here I have one larger charm, so this probably wouldn't be as useful as a, you know, it might be a little heavy to use on your project, but I just thought it was so pretty as part of the necklace that I wanted to include that one. Okay, but otherwise we've got a larger, again, a larger clasp with stitch markers. These are smooth, as you might have noticed on the bronze antique ones. They have more of a texture to them, those stitch markers, but these stitch markers, the individual ones, are really smooth. This has a little bee charm. Here you can see a few different beaded ones that are the blue-green theme. And the silver one has all the French earring back hooks. There's none of the lobster clasps on this one. Let's see, we have a little birdie on a tree branch charm. And another pretty shell beaded one here. And then over here we've got this, I love this beautiful shell bead here. There's a little tassel. There's a cross with a bead attached to it as well, and a butterfly. So again, 10 stitch marker, progress keeper, removable ones, and then another set of 10 on the large clasp. Each necklace has 10 of each. And the last one I have to share with you is on a black cord, and it has, let's see, this one has a larger one. Again, this is a large cross, and then the smaller ones are just a black bead, an arrow. This one has a shell bead one, and this is just more of a black and white creamy colored theme, I guess. I love this Charm of the World. And here's a charm of some cute little leaves. So you can see all of them are just more of a monotone, you know, color scheme. So this would go with almost everything, probably. So yeah, I just really am excited about these. Like I said, these are available in my Etsy shop if you would like to check them out, and I will be making more and adding them in as I can. So if you're interested, head on over to my Etsy shop and check them out. And every time I record a podcast, I also like to share a set of my hand-dyed yarn from my Etsy shop that I think would work well together in a project. So that's the last thing I have to share with you all. Here is the set that I have for today. I thought that this was just a really pretty, summery, ocean kind of a color scheme that I just thought this looked so pretty together. So these three colors are Stream of Water, and you can kind of see the glitter in this one. This is dyed on my Twinkle Toes base, so it has that gold stellina in it, which I just think really adds to this vibrant blue solid color. I think it's really pretty on the Twinkle Toes. This one is called Bubbling Brook, and it has just this light teal background, and then it's speckled with lots of beautiful fuchsia, purple. It has some green in there, some turquoise. So I really like this colorway. Super fun. And this is my pure colorway. So it's blowing out a bit, but it's just a solid light mint green color. And I thought that these three were so pretty together. They would work really, they would be beautiful for a summery shawl, I thought. So all of my colorways are available on all 9 of my bases in my Etsy shop at all times, and any quantity that you might need for a sweater or whatever project you might have in mind. So I would really, really appreciate it if you'd like to head on over to my Etsy shop and check out what I have to offer. So we've been doing really well. It has been extremely hot here today. It's supposed to get up to 100 and feel even hotter than that. So we have been staying inside a lot. The kids have been swimming quite a bit when they can, but it's pretty hot even in the pool. So, you know, that's just, hopefully it won't last too much longer. I think it is supposed to cool off next week a little bit, so that will be really nice. Let's see, I don't think we've really done much anything really exciting lately. I don't think so. I continue to do schoolwork with the kids throughout the summer, so we just continue to do that lately. Yeah, we've been kind of boring lately, I guess, which is fine by me. As I mentioned last time, we had been raising monarch caterpillars and watching them make their chrysalis and hatch from the chrysalis and fly off as beautiful butterflies, and we did. We are done with that for now. We didn't get to watch our final butterflies hatch and fly off into the world, and it was just such a fun experience. So I will again include a little clip at the end of this video of the last butterfly that we had flying off into the world. And anyway, it was just such a fun experience to watch that metamorphosis, and a few of you commented on the last video where I showed a butterfly hatching from a chrysalis, how neat that was to see. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed watching that. And if you didn't get a chance, head on over to episode 71 at the very end. I included that clip if you'd like to watch that. It is really fun to see. So anyway, we really did enjoy that, and I'm sure we will do that. I don't know if we'll do another batch of caterpillars again this year, but we'll definitely do it again maybe next year. It was just really a fun experience. So, and our kids really enjoyed watching that process, so as well as I did too. So Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you would like. I would appreciate that so much. I hope you all have a great week ahead. Thanks again for watching. Bye.